5,000 years of a living civilization, 80 years of independence, 1.4 billion dreams, and one extraordinary ambition, Viksit Bharat 2047. Look at the India of today. We've reached the lunar South Pole. Across the Himalayas, Indian engineers are building where geography once said it was impossible. The Chenab Railway Bridge, 69,000 plus kilometer railway network, the world's fourth largest and the world's second largest road network. From Vande Bharat to India's first indigenous hydrogen train, India is reimagining mobility at extraordinary scale. And talk of scale, India has transformed the meaning. Through UPI, India today accounts for nearly half of global real-time payment transactions. 5G has reached virtually every district. India is the second largest mobile phone manufacturer. It's digitization at population scale. Known as the pharmacy of the world, with 20% of the world's generic medicines by volume come from India. India has the highest number of US FDA-registered pharmaceutical sites outside the United States and the world's third largest pharmaceutical industry by volume. And while our cities rise, our fields continue to feed the world. India is the world's largest rice exporter, largest producer and exporter of spices, and largest producer of millets, and of course, one of the greatest tea-producing nations. We don't just feed the world, we flavor them. In defense, the transformation is equally striking, moving from defense dependence towards indigenous design, manufacturing and exports. Some of the figures what you see here are striking. From buy from the world to make in India, make for the world. So now the question is this the limit of India's potential? And to unleash this potential, we need our young minds to access this heritage and the confidence to understand the intellectual civilization from which they come. For thousands of years, people traveled to India in search of knowledge, mathematics, astronomy, medicine, metallurgy, linguistics, logic, philosophy, consciousness. But somewhere along the way, many of us stopped exploring our own inheritance. We just preserved it, worshipped it, sometimes dismissed it as mythology, but we stopped questioning it. Now it's time to start investigating again. We must remind our children and youths that one of the most influential physicists, Sir Robert J. Oppenheimer, read the Bhagavad Gita, became proficient in Sanskrit, and when the world witnessed the first atomic test at Trinity, the only words that came to his mind were from the Bhagavad Gita, verse 2, chapter 11, with a literal translation of Krishna's words,
"Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
Our epics describe some extraordinary Astras called Brahmastra, with many different categories of them. A civilization thousands of years ago seemed to use weapons of immense destructive power, together with authorization, restraint, withdrawal, consequences, and ethical responsibility, parallel to the way modern civilization thinks about weapons of mass destruction. And when we speak of mass destruction, the first thought is of Shiva, who represents creation, destruction, and transformation. Shiva is always offered water, milk, belpatra leaves, all cooling offerings. All nuclear facilities always depend upon containment, energy management, and cooling. All Shiva temples are always near water bodies. All modern nuclear facilities are always next to water bodies as they require vast quantities of water for cooling. The Shivling and domes of nuclear plants appear strikingly similar. Does this establish an ancient nuclear connection? Maybe, maybe not. But yes, we should be curious enough to investigate. Shiva's association does not end only with the cosmos. In Shiv Samhita, knowledge is presented through a dialogue in which he explains the deeper principles of breathing to Parvati. Swar Shastra finds an intriguing modern parallel to all the physiological phenomena known as the nasal cycle, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic system, two complementary principles contained into one. Did you know that Rahu and Ketu are mathematical points where the moon's orbit intersects the ecliptic, the ascending and the descending lunar nodes? Pure celestial geometry. Our Panchants used sophisticated astronomical calculations to track planetary cycles and predict eclipses timings with remarkable precision. Over 2,000 years ago, Rishi Kanad explained matter, motion, space, and time, describing Anu, the minute units of matter, concepts still being explored by modern particle and quantum physics. We all know India gave zero to the world. But did you know that Acharya Pingala, through Sanskrit prosody, gave binary concept basis of the zeros and ones used in the modern computing? Did you know that behind much of our connected world lies technology pioneered by a son of India? Yes, that's true. Narendra Singh Kapani, who is widely known as the father of fiber optics. Do our children know, or the youths know, that one of the world's greatest games of strategy began here in India, as Chaturanga evolved in India before traveling across the globe as chess? So the most important lesson for all of us, heritage is not a museum. It's a starting point for curiosity. Let's place our virasat in the hands of our children, not by telling them that it is ancient. Instead, tell them to read, question, experiment, test, validate, and wherever evidence survives, build on it. Perhaps somewhere inside an ancient observation is an idea waiting for a modern laboratory. And perhaps the next Kapani, the next Bose, is already sitting in one of our classrooms. Our ancestors preserved the heritage. It is our responsibility to unlock its knowledge. Vikas bhi, Virasat bhi, Vikasit Bharat 2047.